In this case, it's like such an evident, like, hey, the collaboration here should have been like somebody on the product marketing team should have said, hey, this is a little bit confusing and is not actually providing us with a good experience of how we're ever going to get people to try this smoothly. You know what I mean?
Welcome to Brandzilla, a show where we break down the freshest examples of branding, we give honest takes on what worked, what missed the mark, and talk about how they pulled it off, from scrappy startups to global giants. Today we're looking at different ways that some AI companies are engaging with celebrities, because you know you're at the peak of a trend when celebrities start getting involved. I don't know about you, but like I feel just any trend, it's like, oh, celebrities start getting involved. It's like, yeah, celebrities. They're just like us. It's just that's how it kind of feels.
There's always that element of like trying to humanize or make it appeal to the masses, not just because it's a famous person, but because it's like they're just like us. They like to eat.
Yeah, who better to relate to than celebrities who have probably millions more dollars than you do and have all the exact same problems you do. Anyways, that kidding aside, it is a pattern that happens in any cycle. It's happening right now with AI. There are 3 examples that we're going to dive into how effective they are. And we're going to dive in a second. Before we do, I want us to talk about an example when each of us has had to like work with a celebrity. Just like quickly, like summarize it.
Like a quick humble brag.
A quick name drop, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, the example that I'm going to start with is actually in this photo, like right behind me. By the way, if you're listening to this, we have a YouTube channel. We're going to have a lot of examples from videos and we're going to show them on our YouTube channel. We'll also have links to them in the description and stuff. So this photo, it's me with a bunch of people from Twitter and Barack Obama in it as well. We did a Twitter town hall with him in like 2011. And it was, we used Twitter to source the questions. I helped design the editorial flow that did that. We picked some curators that did that, and I got to go with the team to the White House, and it was like a live thing that we produced. Jack Dorsey asked him questions, and I was behind the scenes kind of like looking for real-time tweets to follow up to Ask Obama, and that was actually, it was called the Ask Obama Town Hall. And I just remember being so stressed that day in the White House. We were there all day and we were like working really hard or something. And some people were like geeking out because they were like excited to be at the White House and stuff. And like me and my colleague, we were just like stressing about like order of the questions, making sure that we were monitoring things as they come. And then everyone starts getting very silent in the room. We're like, why is everyone getting silent? And then I was like, oh yes, there's only one reason why people would get silent. He's about to come in the room and they open the doors and he just like walks in. And I didn't realize like how tall he was. He was just like, he's tall. He's 6'4", 6'5". And
oh, wow.
He comes over, he shakes my hand second, and I'm just like, I'm Misha. He's like, okay. And he shakes my hand. And then
Sure
like moves on. He takes the photo with us, and then he like goes out there. I mean, it wasn't all that quick. He like looked at the monitors and stuff and looked at what we were doing. And then we went and did it. It was very stressful 24 hours like leading up to it, but it was exhilarating. And yeah, that's definitely the biggest celebrity thing I've worked with. I mean, I've never, and I don't think it'll be topped. So yeah, I topped out at 23. Yeah. What about you?
That's pretty awesome, man. I'm trying to think of, I have like nothing really to compare that to. That seems like so like, meaningful and like, you got to meet him in such a cool, interesting way. I've been on set a lot with a lot of different celebrities, but it's all been mostly making like fart joke humor during sketches. I have an interesting story of being on set with Fred Armisen playing Barack Obama actually as like a cover of a jazz album. And it's like a sketch where like Fred Armisen is Barack Obama selling his jazz album like on television, and it's done in a very like like early jazz era, like Miles Davis-y kind of way. And Fred Armisen just had such a good impression of the Obama voice. It was so incredible. I remember the lines. It was like, I keep it cool. And like the whole thing started with I keep it cool.
My fellow Americans. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
Exactly.
It's a good one to do. Yeah. The reason I bring up like how we work with celebrities is like you can kind of like when you're working with somebody, period, whether they're a celebrity or not, you can just tell kind of like pretty instantly, like, do they get it? Do they get the thing both that they're doing and do they get the thing that they're representing and stuff? And I kind of want to, for each of these things we go to, like be like, hey, do you think the person like got it? Do you get that impression right away? Because I think I don't know, some of them we might debate, like, hey, did the person like get what was going on? Did they understand the thing that was getting talked about? Or like, does it seem like it's not like maybe quite a same fit? And also like, does it matter? Does it matter if they like actually seems like they understand it?
I was going to say, because the other part of that to me is like beyond, do they get it? Do they get the thing that they're promoting? Is it like, are they stretching their own personal brand in a way that it feels authentic to the thing that it is that they're promoting too? That's like, to me, the other part of it is like, are you just a spokesperson for whatever, or this thing that feels like a true thing that I believe that you actually believe in?
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into it. The first example we're going to talk about is this video that Replit did with this startup called Campus. Campus is an education platform, I believe, kind of trying to build themselves as almost like an alternative university kind of thing. You can get this either in addition to your degree or instead of your degree. I don't know if they're accredited or not. I haven't looked into fully that. I did email them and ask them for some stats on this campaign, and they did not answer me, which is not surprising, but it was worth a shot. And they did this video with Shaq for this course called Vibe Coding 101. It's a course where the video, which we'll show a clip of on YouTube, Shaq is working with Amjad, who's the CEO of Replit, and this other guy on some different apps, and he asked like, hey, can you make an app called like Shaq GPT? And it's just talking about the idea of sort of agentic coding, vibe coding, and Shaq is getting like some of his ideas out there. And it's funny because it feels like it's obviously like it's an ad for this particular course, but it also is obviously an ad for Replit as well too. I'm curious, just like, what were your first impressions of this campaign?
I kind of honestly was like, how did they get Shaq? Like, they kind of, you know what I mean? For something that to me looks like this, and knowing like the stage of company that it's in, I was like, whoa. Which I think also speaks to one of two things: either like how quick these AI tech companies are growing and how much access to capital that they have to actually allocate to bringing Shaq on, right? And their video production needs are not meeting up with their like spending on talent needs, because like, you know, you kind of see it, and like, to me at least, it looked a little cheap compared to like the things that I'm used to seeing Shaq in, you know. But I liked it. I mean, I think like for his brand, I believe it. Like, I think he just has a really phenomenal history of being both a really philanthropic person and also someone who has some pretty solid like business acumen to him, and like how many businesses he owns himself. And I thought this was like a thing that was probably an easy sell to Shaq. It was like, dude, come on, do this, and you'll be influencing like an entire generation of people to learn to better their own situations and code for themselves and whatever else. And so generally I liked it. And the only thing that I found like a little cheesy, it's like, I don't know how much mixing of, obviously Shaq is the NBA or like equals the NBA in so many different ways, but it's like every time that he makes a corny joke about Charles Barkley, it's like when I hear it outside of the context of inside the NBA, I'm like, oh, stop it. You guys only exist in that universe to me. Like, I'm like, Barkley has nothing to do with this coding, Shaq. Stop talking about him.
It's funny. It's funny because I don't know. I think people get the Charles and Shaq dynamic. I think is actually it transcends. It's transcends. It's gone out. People know who those people are, and you see those. They are meme machines, if you will. Inside the NBA is a meme platform for not just sports stuff, but it gets used in all kinds of contexts. I see that gif of whatever Shaq tackling Kenny through the thing at Christmas. That keeps getting repeated, I feel, ad nauseum. So I think, yeah, it's interesting. As to how they got them, my guess is Shaq is an investor in Campus or Replit. My guess is Campus, because it's a campus campaign, ultimately. The thing that I think is interesting is it's a course that sells for $1,500. That's a lot of money for a course. Yeah. And it's a funny ad. It helps. I do think it helps break through to non-tech audiences with Shaq. And there, you know, some people see Shaq somewhat as a buffoon. Some people, you know, and then people see him as smart. And either way, you think like, oh, this guy's doing this. Whatever your perception is of him, it's intriguing. I think, and I think he's funny. He is genuinely funny, and he's genuinely having fun. I'm not surprised at the quality. You mentioned surprised at the quality of it. I do think there's a lot more just of these down to earth videos. It's still shot well. It's clearly shot on good lenses and things like that. It does feel a little HGTV-y, you know, to a certain degree, with the two people speaking to a thing like, hey, buy my thing for 4 payments of $49.99.
It's just so not the way that you have, or that I have grown to see Shaquille O'Neal in media. Because like his own Instagram is its own, like, is one thing that's like, that's the only time I like see Shaq on like selfie style things, but everything else is like, dude, he is in an Icy Hot commercial, he's on Inside the NBA, he is in all these different things. He's like being filmed with a drone as like a DJ at a festival kind of vibe.
He's a police, and he's a sheriff.
He's a sheriff. He's like just so larger than life that like when you see him in this kind of visual context, you're kind of like, I mean, you're obviously so much bigger than these guys, but you don't feel larger than life in this lighting and in this setting.
My hot take on this campaign, and then we can move on to the next one, is I think if this were just a Replit ad, it'd be much more compelling. If it didn't come from this, and maybe this is, I don't know if this is part of the course. I'm not going to pay $1,500 for the course to just find out. Although, you know, hey, Replit, Campus, you guys want to sponsor us? Let us know, and boom, we'll jump in.
We're in on the course. We'll get the course.
Yeah, I'll get the course 100%. But I think if this was just a Replit ad, and either way, watching this makes me want to try Replit directly versus pay for the course. And I think, you know, this is clearly a campus ad or a campus thing that Replit is, you know, getting to you. So I don't know if Replit paid anything for this. And if they didn't, awesome. Like, great. They get that halo effect, totally. And they got, you know, over 500,000 views on X. And I'm sure more brand halo from that. It was released a little late in the year. It was December 29th-ish or so. Weirdly, though, it probably was good timing because of, I'm sure you saw that everyone was sharing stuff about Cloud Code over the holidays, and still have been for the last 2 weeks, especially. And so people were probably signing up to use these vibe code things. I just think it was I think December 29th?
At the end of the day, December 29th.
Yeah. It's just sheer timing wise. I just think even the week before, like, that would have been good. Because then you could have
a little bit more legs to run.
And you could have done one thing too during the same time too. You could have spread it out as well too. And we'll get to holidays later in the episode. I do have another thing on it. It just is funny to me how many people cram things in for the holidays, and this one, at least, it wasn't special. It wasn't filmed like it was made for the holidays, so it probably has legs after that. Okay, cool. Moving on to Perplexity and F1 star Lewis Hamilton. So first things first, Perplexity and Lewis Hamilton signed an agreement, I think in August of last year. Basically, celebrity endorsement thing. They had a clearly AI written blog about it. You can always tell something is AI written when it has a line of it's not just this, it's this. Here, I have the line in their blog is whether you're pursuing a world championship or searching for answers to life's toughest questions, success means more than just going fast. It's about advancing with understanding and purpose. I am so willing to bet at least the first draft of that was not drafted by a human, like so willing.
Yeah, it sounds pretty artificial. Whether it's AI or human, it sounds pretty artificial.
Yeah. Blog post aside, you know, there's 2 videos. There's one was the announcement video that they did with Lewis Hamilton, which you know, is shows Lewis Hamilton in field, starting off with quite a question of what was the first question? What forces align to create the perfect rhythm?
Yeah.
And then going
super ethereal, super like beautiful imagery.
Very ethereal.
Yeah.
And then going into some other questions. How do I stay present under pressure? And I don't know if anyone uses Perplexity or any AI. I'm sure people do it as therapy and companions and stuff like this, whether it's for Perplexity or not. I don't know if you've ever used Perplexity Pro, but I think for a long time, maybe not so much anymore, but for a long time, I think it was the best that you wanted context around a current event or more recent things. They were the best to go to just from how they source stuff. Now I think other models have caught up with them. Gemini is really great at it now, but it's a very ethereal thing. Lewis Hamilton's in the background. It's shot gorgeously. I have no idea how much of it is AI generated, if anything, but it's like Perplexity. A lot of their visuals, it's very just I don't know. It's just very on trend.
It definitely looks like it's leaning into this idea of the surreal generations that come out of these models.
For sure, yeah. And then there's this second video with Lewis Hamilton and Eric Andre, which I think is wonderful that people are doing this with Eric Andre, because I don't think he's everyone's cup of tea from a comedic standpoint. I love Eric Andre personally. I don't know how you feel about Eric Andre, but big fan.
I'm not a huge fan, but I've seen him in like a couple of different things, and like I thought he was pretty funny in this. I thought he's had a pretty good, showing of his shtick and of his character in this.
Yeah, I think, and this one where it features, it's Eric Andre showing up in a garage, and Lewis Hamilton's working on a motorcycle, and he's asking him to hand him something, and he's looking it up on Perplexity, like, oh, what's this like T handle thing that he mentioned, and he finds it and hands it to him, and then the questions keep going. This, I think, is actually a pretty brilliant ad, because it's a perfect example of obviously a cartoonish moment, but of how to use Perplexity as a genuine answer engine, which is how they've been trying to push themselves for a lot. And it's humorous. It's at the end of it. I think there's a thing with he's like, oh, hey, I see that I have this on my phone too. And he just grabs his phone and throws it off. And he's like, why'd you do that? Like, and then he's like, Eric Andre runs away. He's like, you're rich, buy another one. And it's a genuinely funny line. It's just, I think this to me is a much more successful, just overall distillation of how to use Perplexity versus the announcement video. And I don't think the announcement video was made for nearly the same budget that this Lewis Hamilton and Eric Andre was. I gather. I don't know that for a fact, but it just seems like this one, multi-camera and just more intense production versus the other one, which may have had some AI generated stuff to it. And it's an interesting way to use a celebrity context. And I think it's kind of a lot of these celebrity partnerships I think are interesting. And F1's an interesting example because, similar to the NBA, where it's like you could have a thing with the team, but you also have to do a separate agreement with the star. So it's a and Perplexity, I think, is a sponsor of Ferrari, which Lewis Hamilton races for now, and it's a good use of the celebrity endorsement. Sometimes you have a celebrity endorsement and it doesn't make sense. And I actually don't know if I've told you this, but when we were at Webflow, we were chasing 2 celebrity investors for one of our rounds. I won't mention their names, but one is a very big NBA star and one is a very big movie star. We ultimately didn't work out with any of them, but we were trying to figure out context for how we would work with them in a video kind of thing. And the NBA one honestly didn't make a ton of sense as much as the movie star one, because they had a property that was a media entity that made sense that we could kind of bring into it a bit. And so it's just, I think when you're doing anything with celebrity, you do have to think about how you do it, think of it. And I don't know that Perplexity, when they signed with Lewis Hamilton, that they thought like, oh, hey, we're going to do more than X number of ads a year or something. But I think this is a really good one. Also pairing him with Eric Andre, it's a good pairing. It feels kind of a little bit like a The Rock and Dwayne Johnson kind of dynamic. Yeah, what are any of your thoughts on either of these two?
I really, really liked the Eric Andre one where they're actually acting against each other. And I thought Lewis Hamilton had a really great performance in that. He was actually surprisingly um, solid when it came to like not feeling like he was just reading his line. You know, like sometimes with athletes or something like that, you'll get these readings where you're just like, oh God, okay. He stood there and he just said it. But Lewis Hamilton actually, I thought came off very, very charismatic in the scene as he tends to do. What I will call out that I thought was really sort of a head scratcher for me was the introduction video of Lewis Hamilton, just in sheer style and tone, is just so drastically different than the way that you're presenting him in something like this. And from a consistency standpoint, from like a branding and consistency standpoint, I thought it was sort of, I don't think the pieces were misses individually, but I think the holistic view of like, how are we structuring this campaign and this partnership with this athlete, between those two videos, between then the homepage that it goes to, and then like this Eric Andre video, kind of just didn't line up for me in terms of the story that they were trying to tell.
So I have a theory as to why they did this too. One, there's two theories. One, if you look at the performance of the ads, and again, I don't know how much the humor one does way better. So, it may just be a thing of like, hey, humor does way better, especially if you're going to, this is clearly more cut downable into 30, 15-second segments versus.
Oh yeah, I mean, it felt like a spot that they could buy the media time for the Super Bowl or some big sports game and just run this Eric Andre ad with him. Like, I'm surprised. I won't be shocked if I see it somewhere soon.
But the other one too is, so they had this whole thing in their blog when they talked about the announcement about focusing on excellence and something like that, or even it may have just been like a quote that I saw from one of the executives, like, oh, that we're in a brand that we're trying to be focused on excellence or whatever. Lewis Hamilton had not a great year at F1. I don't think he didn't hit any podiums last year, and I'm not an F1 stan. I Googled this all and figured this out. So you kind of have to drift away from that message if the way you presented it, where you're about like intense focus and being the best under pressure. Because for Perplexity's sake, like, if you're a real F1 stan, you'd be like, well, I mean, he didn't really do that well under pressure, so maybe why should we do it fine? So you kind of have to go a different angle. So whether that was intentional or not, I think you kind of had to do this. You couldn't keep hitting that same esoteric, holier than thou angle, because that when the announcement came, it was through the first half of the year. He did all these races and just didn't end up well. And if this one launched in the latter half of the year, it just would have sounded a little bit hollow. So this was probably also just like a bit of a safer play. Hey, let's go with some humor here versus that.
That's a really interesting read.
Yeah. So results for this, it's around 96,000 views with the Eric Andre one on YouTube, 22,000 views on the announcement one. And again, if anyone from Perplexity's branding team is listening to this and wants to give us better figures, hey, hit us up on LinkedIn and we'll add them.
Yeah, I wonder. My question is like, where do we look for the measurements of success beyond the views here too? Because I can imagine from someone on the marketing team at Perplexity's point of view, it's like, no, this was a huge success for this or this or this reason, and I don't know. I kind of look at it sometimes. I'm like, okay, yeah, 100,000 views, 150,000 views for X amount of what I know it costs to actually go and pull that off and to execute that. And I have a hard time putting on like my finance hat and being like, that's worth it.
Oh yeah. No, I think in terms of how you measure something like this, you look at views are just one component and not even the main component necessarily. You look at search lift and stuff in terms of, and I tried to look at this too for Google search volume stuff, but I didn't see anything that was clearly seemed correlated. If anything, there was Perplexity in general had a big downswing in app stores in subscriptions in like September, and a lot of people think because it was a lot of their like 1 year free subscription stuff like started to die off, and so they've dropped a lot in rankings recently. So I would look at it as like trying to combat that a little bit as well, seeing like what other maybe press they got around this as well, and just seeing how people talked about it. And honestly too, I didn't see a ton of the only reason I went looking for this is it's not like this like came across my thing. I think I vaguely recall seeing something around the announcement in August, or whenever it was announced, the first announcement, but I didn't see the video, and I only saw this Eric Andre one because I went looking for it. I never saw it as an ad. But then again, I think at the time I was a Perplexity subscriber. I'm not now. So maybe they were doing very smart retargeting. I wasn't being retargeted by it. Versus now, I'm a Claude subscriber. I'm getting so many freaking Claude ads. I don't know about you, but like really just all
I'm
the
not
time.
a subscriber, and I'm still getting a ton of them. Like
Really?
I see them everywhere. Yeah,
I'm not a Max subscriber yet, so maybe that's why they're like, "Hey, give it that $200 a month." And I'm like,
yeah.
"God, I'm thinking about it, but just don't come for me yet."
Well, I could also see too with like what we're gonna look at next, with basically Google like nipping at their heels with all the things that they've improved with their AI search and basically everything Gemini and how Gemini has improved. I could see that Perplexities, if in fact they towards the end of last year start taking this like downtrend, they also kind of are in a position where it's like, well, we have to do something. What can we do? Here is a huge star in sports and pop culture right now, Lewis Hamilton, with this comedian. And yes, we're moving away, to your point, from this messaging of like sheer brilliance and excellence and more towards the traditional, let's put celebrities into big commercials and this will do good for us. Which I wonder, if maybe this actually did not end up in a way that ultimately we look back on and say, yes, this did great things for them.
Yeah, I think it's always the question around, especially celebrities, like, is the juice worth the squeeze? And does it set you up for things later on too, to do interesting stuff as a brand? Okay, so but a perfect segue into 2 points for that, for the Google virtual try-on. So Google did, this is in the holidays, they both hit in early-ish to mid-December. One was with Gabrielle Union and Kirsten Dunst, comparing. So Google Virtual Try-On, if you haven't tried it yet, is a app to try on different clothes on yourself. Reminds me, I totally meant to upload your face to this and just and dress you up in something.
Oh my god!
And do that for this.
That's a good callback to the Shaq and Barkley meme thing. This just turns into Inside the NBA, and we have the quick responses on Twitter with all the memes.
Yeah, I was going to dress up, maybe both of us in the same Adidas tracksuit. There we go. No, but so Google Virtual Try-On two. If you haven't seen it yet, it's a app. Yeah, you upload your face and you put on clothes that you can then buy, and it's pretty good. I don't know if you heard about this over the holidays. I heard about it. I heard a couple podcasts talking about it. I feel it was in the culture. I've even tried to get my wife into it because I think it's something that she would find interesting. Just gives you a bit of a sense of how things might fit on your body. It's obviously AI, so it's not perfect. And then there's also one for Sarah Jessica Parker. It's got the Sex and the City style voiceover, and she's doing the same thing and trying to find an outfit for the evening. It's two ads with, slightly different audiences. I think the Kirsten Dunst and Gabrielle Union one strictly targeting millennials. The Sarah Jessica Parker one, overlapping, targeting Gen X and millennials as well. I think even though the Sarah Jessica Parker one has like more views, and I believe it came out first and it had more of a buzz on it, I think the Gabrielle Union and Kirsten Dunst one is better. It's not just the humor side of it. There's little things in the Sarah Jessica Parker one, like the CGI bow, that's a bit much. But ultimately, for both of these, they're both very holiday. They're both exceedingly holiday themed. They came out in December. They're both about finding outfits for Christmas season, and I don't think they needed that. And yeah, it was the winter and all and stuff. But it's Google, so they have all the money in the world and they don't care. They can spend millions of dollars on an ad campaign and just run it for December, and then that's it. And maybe the marketing department at Google has to do that to just use some of their budget. But there's no reason you could have done this in a either non-holiday setting or just not mention the holidays at all, and still have this and be able to use this beyond it, because virtual try-on is a very cool thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the biggest issue, honestly, I have with both of these ads is they don't actually tell you how to do it and how to finding Google Virtual Try-On. You have to essentially you just have to Google Virtual Try-On and then click on it and go to it. They say, just ask Google, which is a great phrase.
Right. It's a terrible call to action for this particular product, because just ask Google is leading you back to Gemini, and it's like the whole spot is about Google Try, but then you're sending people to Gemini and search.
I was saying it's a great, just ask Google is a great phrase if it works. In this case, it didn't work because I tried to ask Google, be like, hey, find me a thing. I tried typing very similar things to what they type in this, and it didn't work. It would just spit out some AI results and stuff versus. And even if I did it in Gemini, I even tried it in Gemini 2 to do that. And it didn't, and even Gemini didn't say like, hey, try our virtual try-on product. And it should try that. And that to me is the
disconnect between the marketing team, the marketers and the product team. Like, or actually where does this fall? This falls on the product marketers, right? The people in the marketing department whose responsibility is to represent the product team in this capacity, right? Oftentimes those folks think that they need to be doing all the marketing themselves, but in this case it's like such an evident like, hey, the collaboration here should have been like somebody on the product marketing team should have said, hey, this is a little bit confusing and is not actually providing us with a good experience of how we're ever going to get people to try this smoothly. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's that, and it is an interesting question too, because Google's not the only platform with this problem. You're going to build this AI product, and how do you meld them together? How do you make sure if someone's Googling something, you say, hey, we have a product that does this, go try this one. And even Claude, if you ask Claude something, hey, they should say, oh, you should be doing this in Claude Code instead, or just give it as an option. Say, hey, this would be a lot more effective in this product, because people don't know that these products exist. And I wonder which platform is going to figure that out the fastest. Maybe OpenAI is doing the best job at it, but I don't even really know. That's a separate conversation.
Google kind of dropped the ball in the same way with VO3. When VO3 came out, it was like the model and like the thing to use, right? And like now we're a few months later, things have evolved or whatever, but VO3 was like a big step forward. And to get to use VO3 was really not super straightforward. Like they had two different areas. Like in terms of the product, there was a product over here that actually was not the studio where you would really generate VO3 stuff and be able to edit it together. And it took a really long time for me to figure out where to go to actually get to try and use this VO3 model that was everywhere online that I was seeing, And so it's interesting that this sort of seems to be a repeat thing happening at a company that has infinite resources, who can really create kind of anything to message anything, and they're like kind of missing some very base level stuff.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think too, it's the thing is that they're both well written. They're both exceedingly well written. Like whoever did this, whether it's Google internal and stuff like that, they hit the mark on the parody.
I was gonna say I loved it. I loved like both of them. It's like very obviously going for a specific age range of person, right? Who like gets the Bring It On reference, right? Because no Gen Z person watching this or younger is getting like why these two women are saying these two things. Like Bring It On is for a certain age range, and then same with Sex and the City, right? It's like Sex and the City. This is clearly the thing I was thinking about was like, damn, like what a royalty they must have paid to Darren Star, for Google recreating Sex and the City, basically, because it's all one for one visual language and storytelling language from Sex and the City.
You think they paid him anything? I don't think they paid him anything. Unless you're using the actual character's name or their set or the music, in which case you'd pay it to whoever owns the
I couldn't tell if the music was the same or not, but it's like she's clearly that character. But it is interesting to your point. Like it's like if you don't say her name or whatever, like she can be as close to that character as possible, and we just don't say Sex and the City. We use a similar kind of cursive serif font, and we sort of make it feel Sex and the City.
I think it's getting right to the line, and then even for the Bring It On one, they say try it on, not bring it on.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's, I mean, a good point.
So,
that is,
so
they're
it's like,
really
I think
trying
you
to
go
get
right up
close
to the line and you
without
don't
actually saying it.
Yeah. It's not like you do something with Steph Curry and he's wearing his like Warriors jersey. If you do that, then you have to pay something to the Warriors as well. You have to, or you have to get the NBA and licensing and thing and stuff involved in that.
I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
To you. I'm a big Darren Starhead. I'm a Starhead.
Oh.
I reluctantly got into Sex and the City and then couldn't stop watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I love Emily in Paris. And I started watching the show that he made between called Younger, which is all about like a 40-year-old single mom who goes back and pretends to be in her 20s and works at a publishing company.
Okay.
And it was on Netflix, and it had like somehow it had 8 seasons. And I watched everything. I watched all of it. I loved it.
I cannot say.
Anyways, just as a side note, just
I love that. I love that. We'll add that to your bio. Misha Sundakowski, Darren Star Stan.
I might be in my own club. I call myself the Starheads. We're Starheads. I just think it's brilliant. It's like such easy watching, and like he's figured out the rhythm of an episode and the formula of an episode and the A story, B stories, and like the romantic entanglements, and just like I find it so. Oh yeah. I find some of the characters infuriating. Like, to be candid with you, Carrie, Sex and the City,
that's
Carrie,
what they're supposed to be.
She's infuriating.
Yeah,
she's the worst.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do Emily in Paris just because it was about marketing. I remember we tried it, I think during the pandemic or whenever it first came out, and I was just like, I can't watch this, and I had to turn it off. And
that's all I'm trying to do, dude. I am literally just trying to run that marketing agency that they run in Emily in Paris.
Well, now
Agents Gratteau. And oh my God, here's a funny one. You and me saw Luke.
Yeah, that's right.
We were in Paris together having dinner one night because casual. Those are things we do. We go to Paris for dinner. And
the Brandzilla team. We went to Paris.
And we saw the guy who plays Luke walking down the street in Paris.
Have I told you my connection to Sex and the City?
Mm-mm.
So I worked as an au pair for the guy who composed the theme song for Sex and the City.
Wow, interesting.
Doug Cuomo, great guy, great family.
In New York?
In New York, yeah.
Wow.
Of course, New York. He's not allowed to leave New York. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was great. And then he went on to do like operas and stuff. And great, brilliant American composer. Yeah, that's
cool,
my connection to Sex and the City. I do wonder how Sex and the City holds up.
You know, I didn't watch it in the 90s. I watched it, a couple of years ago, and I thought did hold up, but there were a few cringy kind of like,
there were some bad moments. Yeah.
Like there was definitely some cringy, like everybody in this show's white, and every time you see a black person, it's like a weird cringy moment.
And Darren Star is from Potomac, Maryland, which is near where I went to high school. Funny. Anyways, yeah, come for the brand talks, stay for the
salacious TV gossip.
So anyways, these Google things did 8.5 million views for Sarah Jessica Parker. Like I said, I think that went first, and then over 5.3 million views for the Bring It On one. They both came out again over the holidays. And again, I think to me, it's just so interesting. That Google, you have this so much money to throw around, and you're going to do something that just runs for 2 weeks. And I'm so curious to see, and I should look into this. Did these even run as TV ads? Were these like purely YouTube only? I think these may have been
interesting.
YouTube only.
And I think what you're bringing up, actually, this is a great transition to a point that I was really excited to talk to you about. There was this time, right, over the last 10, 15 years where Super Bowl ads, and my head's really in Super Bowl ads right now because they're like coming up, and a lot of these like preview Super Bowl ads were released.
I got an idea for an episode around it.
Yeah, we should just do an episode just about Super Bowl ads.
Mm-hmm.
But over the last, 10, 15 years, it's like every year you see the Super Bowl and it just progressively turned more and more and more and more into this celebrity fest of like what brand is going to hire what celebrity and whatever. It's like everyone in advertising knows about this. And what I thought was really fascinating about these examples that you found and you wanted to talk about was that there's almost kind of like a taking of that idea of we're going to find the celebrities that we want to partner up with these specific brands and starting to think outside of the Super Bowl and starting to move it into this realm of like seasonal YouTube campaigns in this same manner. Because what's fascinating right now that's happening is that all these brands have come out saying, hey, we're not even going to do Super Bowl ads this year. We're not going to get into these bidding wars over the cost of all of this media and pay ungodly sums for these 30-second slots that, let's be real, a lot of people probably have either muted or getting up and getting snacks or using the bathroom or whatever. So like the effectiveness of them nowadays when everything is second screen, when everything is like, okay, beyond my telephone, I have a game going on, I think is a really interesting trend that's probably starting to happen that we're going to see be a shift. This year alone, already in January, Nike, Coors, Reese's, Skittles, DoorDash all said not doing the Super Bowl this year. Which I wonder, is that going to drive down the cost of some of the media, or is it just like there's so many buyers out there who want these slots that it's just going to be just as expensive? It's just, it's going to be a brand choice.
It's interesting. I mean, yeah, I do think it's so noisy too. It's almost, if you think about it, like from a tech perspective, it used to be South by Southwest was the place to go to launch your app, and now it's way too noisy. You do that, you're drowned out in a sea of things, and even launching hardware at CES too. That's all. And CES is taken so much less seriously than it has been before. So I do think you will still see celebrity things. You'll just probably see them you get better bang for your buck if you do it at off hours because you won't have to pay that insane fee to just be featured in the celebrity. I feel the Super Bowl too has just gotten a lot more just like whatever movie event focused or platform focused kind of thing. Less about an individual product or feature, if you will. But we'll talk about that in that episode. My last point that I was going to make on these things were that you kind of have two choices when you're working with a celebrity. Do you go the Nike angle of we're idolizing this person and we're really trying to like bring some of their credibility to what we do? Or are you going to sort of work with that and lean into the humorous side of it? Those are kind of the two choices. Like, and you see for these options, two went humorous and one went kind of serious. And even then they went humorous. And it's just kind of interesting to see that as the primary way. I think you kind of have to do that almost with celebrities now. Otherwise people take it to it comes off too self-serious.
I think that's totally right, because I feel like comedy's sort of the naturally easier choice. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to be seen as being able to not take themselves too seriously, versus it's so easy to like miss the mark on that. All those things, the brand celebrity connection, the celebrity personal brand that they carry with them. And yeah, totally. But I think the ones that are, that'd be an interesting example of like trying to find ones that are well executed in that regard. Like who has done something with a celebrity that was not humor based and that was serious, that was effective, right? I think of perfumes, like they do that all the time. It's like that the fashion industry is anything but funny.
And that's it for episode 2 of Brandzilla. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and are on YouTube, and make sure you check out the links to all of these videos that we talked about.